Liara stepped off the starship with careful steps, her soft boots pressing against the polished metal floor of Aurora 7's interstellar hub. The hub buzzed with activity. Aliens of every shape and color moved through the corridors, their voices rising and falling like music in a crowded hall. Humans, like Rylan, were rare here, but they were not unnoticed. Liara's violet eyes scanned the area, curious but cautious. She had traveled far from Zephora, her home world, hoping for acceptance, work, and a fresh start. Her tall frame and elegant posture caught some eyes, but not all were admiring. Some of the Zephoran council members whispered as she passed, frowning at her unusual hair color and delicate features. They saw differences as weaknesses. Liara felt their cold gaze, but she held her head high. She had faced rejection before, and she would not let it break her spirit. She carried only a small satchel, packed with the essentials, a few personal items, technical tools for her work in engineering and diplomacy, and a small hollow pad with her credentials. She walked to the main hall, where the information desk stood, glowing with soft blue lights. "Excuse me?" she said politely, approaching the desk. "I am looking for housing and work. My name is Liara from Zephora." The clerk, a short alien with green-scaled skin, examined her documents but quickly frowned. "You have skills, yes, but the council has not approved newcomers like you. Most positions are already taken by local citizens." Liara's lips pressed into a thin line. She nodded slowly. "I understand, but perhaps there are smaller tasks? Temporary work?" The clerk shook his head. "I am sorry. You may try the lower sectors, but it is difficult. Some do not welcome outsiders." Liara took a deep breath and thanked him. She had expected resistance, but the coldness still stung. As she turned away, she noticed a human soldier standing nearby, observing her quietly. His uniform was clean and official, marked with insignia she did not recognize. His stance was firm but relaxed, and there was an unusual warmth in his gaze. He stepped forward as she started to walk down the corridor. "Excuse me," he said in clear, confident English. "I couldn't help noticing you. Are you new here?" Liara paused. "Yes, I am Liara. And you are?" "Captain Rylan," he replied with a small nod. "I am here on a diplomatic mission. I noticed you seemed unwelcome. That is not right." Liara tilted her head, surprised. No one had ever said that to her. Usually people either ignored her or treated her as less than they did themselves. "Thank you," she said softly. "It is not easy being far from home." Rylan smiled slightly. "I know. My work often takes me to places where I am the stranger, but sometimes strangers can help each other." Liara felt a small warmth in her chest. Here was someone who did not judge her for being different. "Perhaps," she said. "Do you know any work opportunities here?" "I may be able to help," Rylan said. "I am not familiar with all the local customs, but I know someone who might appreciate your skills. If you are willing, I can introduce you." Liara hesitated. Her trust did not come easily. I do not know you. How can I be sure this is safe?" Rylan's expression was calm. "You cannot be sure, but I promise. I only want to help. If nothing else, you will have an ally in a place where friends are rare." Liara studied him. There was no hint of mockery, no hidden agenda, just honesty. Slowly she nodded. "Very well. I will trust you. For now." They walked together to a quieter corridor, away from the busy hub. Liara could hear the hum of machinery and distant voices echoing through the hallways. "Tell me about yourself," Rylan said. "Why did you come to Aurora 7? Liara glanced at him, thinking carefully. "I wanted to leave Zephora. My skills were never valued there. I hoped for a place where I could contribute, where I could belong, but so far it has not been easy. Rylan nodded knowingly. I understand. Sometimes home does not mean where you are born. It is where people see your worth, not your differences. Liara's eyes softened. That is kind of you to say. Most only see what is different about me. Then let me be the first to see what is remarkable about you, Rylan said quietly, but firmly. For a moment, Liara felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. She realized that perhaps she did not have to conform to expectations to find respect. There were humans, like this soldier, who could appreciate someone for their abilities and heart. As they approached a docking bay, Rylan stopped and gestured toward a small transport shuttle. I can take you to the sector where your talents might be useful. It is modest, but safe. No one will reject you there. Liara looked at the shuttle. It was not luxurious, but it represented possibility. She took a deep breath and nodded. Thank you, Captain Rylan. I will go with you. As they boarded the shuttle, Liara glanced back at the hub. The lights, the crowds, the whispers. They felt less threatening now. For the first time in a long time, she sensed that she was not completely alone. During the short journey, Rylan spoke about the hub's workings, the different alien communities, and the challenges humans faced when they visited. Liara listened attentively, asking questions and sharing insights about Zephoran technology. Rylan was impressed by her knowledge and careful thought. By the time they reached the lower sector, Liara felt more at ease. Small homes lined the narrow streets, with gardens and soft lights glowing from windows. It was quiet and welcoming, a stark contrast to the bustling hub above. This will be your temporary home, Rylan said. It is not perfect, but it is safe. People here respect each other, no matter their origin. Liara stepped out of the shuttle and inhaled the fresh air. It smelled faintly of flowers and ozone, a mixture she had never encountered before. It is peaceful, she said softly. Rylan nodded. Good. You deserve peace. Liara smiled for the first time that day. Though she had been rejected by many, she realized that sometimes acceptance comes from unexpected places. Perhaps, with time, she could prove her worth not just to strangers, but to herself. As the shuttle flew away, Liara looked at the stars above Aurora 7. She felt small, yet determined. This was only the beginning of her journey, but she was ready to face it. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she felt a quiet gratitude toward the human soldier who saw her not as rejected, but as remarkable. The lower sector of Aurora 7 was quiet, but full of life in its own gentle way. Small shops and workshops lined the narrow streets, their warm lights spilling onto the cobblestone paths. Liara followed Captain Rylan through the area, her steps careful but steady. She had never known a human so attentive and respectful, someone who seemed genuinely interested in her well-being. This area is mostly artisans and engineers, Rylan said, glancing around. They do not care much about status or origins, as long as your work is good. You will fit here. Liara nodded. It seems welcoming. I have not felt welcome in a long time. Her voice was soft, tinged with a mix of relief and lingering sadness. Rylan smiled. Sometimes the right place is not obvious. You have to find it yourself, with a little help. That is why I am here. They stopped outside a small building marked Zintech Repairs. Tools and small machines were visible through the open doorway, and a few alien engineers moved inside, tinkering with devices. Rylan gestured toward the building. This is where I think your skills could be useful. They need someone with knowledge of both human and alien technology. You could help them, and they could help you. Liara took a deep breath and stepped closer. The scent of metal and oil filled the air, but it was oddly comforting. She had always loved the smell of machines, the way they hummed and clicked when they worked properly. "It looks promising," she said. Rylan nodded. "I will stay with you until they accept you. Sometimes introductions help." Inside, the engineers paused and looked at Liara. Some raised eyebrows, others murmured. She noticed the subtle hesitation, the same cautious assessment she had faced at the hub. But Rylan's presence seemed to give her some protection. "This is Liara," Rylan said confidently. "She comes from Zyphora and has advanced technical skills. I believe she could be a valuable addition." One of the engineers, a tall, blue-skinned alien named Varric, stepped forward. We do not usually hire newcomers," he said, his ABA voice careful. "But if she has skills, we can give her a trial." Liara inclined her head politely. "I understand. I am willing to prove myself." Rylan gave a reassuring nod and stepped back slightly. "I will be nearby if you need guidance, but I think you will manage." Over the next few hours, Liara worked alongside the engineers. She examined malfunctioning devices, adjusted circuits, and even suggested modifications that improved efficiency. The others watched in silence at first, then slowly began to nod in approval. "You have a very different approach," Varric said finally, smiling faintly. "But it works. I admit, I did not expect such solutions from someone new." Liara smiled. In return, sometimes a fresh perspective is helpful. Rylan watched from the corner, quietly observing her skill and confidence. He had seen many individuals with talent, but few combined intelligence with patience and humility. Liara was not just skilled, she was remarkable. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm shades of orange and violet across the sector, Rylan spoke. "You did very well today. They are impressed." Liara's cheeks warmed slightly. "Thank you, Captain Rylan. I could not have done it without your support." Rylan shook his head. "You could have done it alone. I only helped open the door. You stepped through it yourself." For the first time in a long while, Liara felt truly seen. Someone had noticed her abilities, valued her presence, and treated her as an equal. She had faced rejection for so long that this small recognition felt monumental. Later, as they walked through the quiet streets, Rylan asked gently, "Do you feel safe here?" Liara considered the question. "Yes, more than I expected. But there is still a part of me that fears rejection. I have carried it for so long." Rylan nodded. "It is natural. Fear does not disappear overnight, but trust can grow, little by little. And you are not alone anymore." Liara looked at him, the human soldier who had come to her aid when she had felt unwanted. You trust me even when others do not," she said softly. "I do," Rylan replied without hesitation. "And I believe in your skills, your mind, and your heart. That is more important than what anyone else thinks." Liara felt a flicker of warmth in her chest, a sensation she had not experienced in years. It was not love, not yet, but it was respect, trust, and the comfort of knowing someone saw her true worth. The next day, Liara returned to Zintech early, eager to continue her work. Rylan met her at the entrance. "Good morning," he said, smiling. "Ready for another day of proving how remarkable you are?" Liara laughed softly. "I suppose so. But you already believe in me. Do I still need to prove anything?" Rylan chuckled. "Some people only understand proof, but you show it naturally." Inside, Liara faced a new challenge, a broken communication relay that had puzzled the engineers for weeks. She examined the device carefully, cross-checking alien schematics with human systems. Hours passed, and she worked with patience and precision, her fingers moving with grace over delicate circuits. Finally, the relay hummed to life. The engineers cheered quietly, impressed by her solution. Varric approached her with a small smile. "I admit, you have exceeded our expectations. Your skills are unique." Liara nodded humbly. "Thank you. I am glad I could help." Rylan watched from the corner again, pride clear in his eyes. "You see? Others recognize your value now. But remember, your worth is not only in what others see, it is in who you are." Liara felt a deep sense of reassurance. For the first time, she realized that human kindness and respect could cross species boundaries. She had feared loneliness and rejection, but now she had a connection, a person who valued her for her mind and heart. As evening fell, the lower sector glowed with soft lights, and the air carried a gentle hum of activity. Liara and Rylan walked, side by side, sharing small stories of their pasts. She spoke of Zephora, the beauty of her home world, and the times she had been overlooked. He spoke of his missions, the challenges of navigating alien cultures, and the loneliness that sometimes came with being human in a vast galaxy. Their bond grew quietly, not with grand gestures, but with understanding and shared respect. Liara realized that trust could blossom even in unfamiliar places, and that friendship, real, meaningful friendship, was sometimes more valuable than approval from many. By the time they parted for the evening, Liara felt a spark of hope. For the first time in years, she believed that acceptance and belonging were possible. And she knew, deep inside, that the human soldier who had chosen to see her for who she truly was would remain an important part of her journey. The quiet streets of the lower sector had become familiar to Liara. She moved through them with a confidence she had not felt when she first arrived. Zintech Repairs had accepted her, and her contributions were appreciated. But Aurora 7 was a busy hub, and even the calmest places could hold surprises. It began with a low, mechanical hum that grew louder as the afternoon wore on. Liara looked up from her workstation and frowned. Outside, a mining drone had gone out of control. The drone's arms spun wildly, sparks flying as it knocked over crates and machinery. People shouted and ran, trying to escape the chaos. Rylan, who had come to check on Liara, immediately assessed the situation. "We need to move fast," he said. "Help me guide the civilians away, and I'll try to control the drone." Liara nodded, her heart racing but her mind clear. "I can help redirect its path. I know its programming. It responds to commands if you can interface with it." They moved quickly through the streets, directing civilians to safety while keeping an eye on the spinning drone. Its metallic arms swung dangerously, smashing crates and small vehicles. Liara's knowledge of alien machinery allowed her to predict its movements. "It's overloading," she shouted to Rylan. "If we can reset its core, it will stop." Rylan nodded. "Then we reset it. You handle the controls, I'll keep it from reaching the crowd." Working together, they approached the drone cautiously. Liara tapped commands into her portable device, her fingers flying over the interface. Sparks danced around the drone as it resisted at first, but Liara's persistence paid off. Slowly, its erratic movements began to subside. Rylan, standing nearby, used his strength and precise movements to prevent the drone from hitting nearby structures. He coordinated with Liara, guiding her when the drone swung too close. Their teamwork was seamless, a dance of intelligence and courage. Finally, with a final command input by Liara, the drone froze, its arms retracting safely. A collective sigh of relief passed through the gathered crowd. Civilians began to return to their homes, grateful and amazed. One of the engineers from Zintech, Varric, approached Liara with wide eyes. I did not expect you to handle that so calmly." "You saved many lives today." Liara shook her head modestly. I just knew what to do. The drone is like a machine puzzle. It responds to logic. I only followed the patterns. Rylan put a hand on her shoulder, his expression serious but proud. You did more than follow patterns. You stayed calm, you protected others, and you used your skills to prevent disaster. That is remarkable, Liara. Liara felt a warmth in her chest, a mix of pride and gratitude. It was different from the hollow praise she had received on Zyphora. Here, it was real, earned through courage and intelligence. As the crowd dispersed, Rylan turned to her. Are you okay? Liara nodded. Yes, a little shaken, but okay. Thank you for helping me stay safe. You helped too, Rylan replied. We made a good team. Later, in the quiet of Zintech, Liara examined the drone's core to ensure no damage remained. Rylan watched her from the doorway, arms crossed, a small smile on his face. You know, most people would have panicked. You didn't even flinch, Liara smiled faintly. I cannot afford to panic when others depend on me. I have learned that over time. Rylan's eyes softened. It shows. That calmness, that intelligence. It is part of why I trust you. Liara looked at him, surprised. You trust me, even after seeing me in danger? I trust you because you handle challenges with courage and care, he said simply. That is rare. As night fell over the lower sector, Liara and Rylan walked through the streets, which were now quiet again. Small lights glowed from windows, and the air smelled faintly of metal and ozone, a reminder of the day's events. You know, Rylan said, today showed something important. People may reject or underestimate you, but you can prove your worth in ways that matter. Not everyone sees it at first, but actions speak louder than words. Liara thought about her past, the rejection she had felt on Zyphora, the whispers and dismissals that had followed her for years. I never thought my skills could matter so much, she admitted softly. It feels good to know I can make a difference. You do make a difference, Rylan said, his tone firm, and not just because of what you can do. You make people feel safe, seen, and respected. That is rare, something no one can take away from you. Liara felt a surge of hope. For the first time in a long while, she believed that she could belong somewhere. She had faced rejection for so long, but now she understood that there were people who valued her for who she truly was, not her appearance, her origins, or the mistakes of others. In the days that followed, Liara continued her work at Zintech, often alongside Rylan. They repaired devices, improved systems, and helped the lower sector function more smoothly. Their teamwork became well known among the local residents, earning respect from people who had initially doubted Liara's abilities. One afternoon, while examining a communication panel together, Rylan asked, Do you ever wish things had been easier at home? Liara paused. Sometimes. But then I think, if I had not faced rejection, I might not have grown as much. I would not have learned to rely on my own skills or to appreciate the kindness of others. Rylan nodded. That is true. Hardship teaches lessons we cannot learn otherwise. But it does not mean you have to face it alone anymore. You have allies now. Liara looked at him, realizing that he was more than an ally. He was someone who saw her value when few others did. Thank you, Captain Rylan, she said softly. I am grateful for your trust. Rylan's smile was quiet but sincere. You earned it. Trust is not given lightly. It is built, and you have built it with every action, every decision you have made here. That evening, as Liara returned to her small quarters, she reflected on the day's events. The chaos, the fear, the quick thinking. It had been exhausting, but it had also been empowering. She realized that danger was not always a threat. Sometimes it was an opportunity to show courage, to prove worth, and to gain the respect she had long sought. And as she looked out at the stars above Aurora 7, Liara felt a quiet certainty growing within her. She had been rejected before, but now she understood that rejection did not define her. What mattered was who she was, what she could do, and the connections she chose to nurture. In the distance, Ryland's shuttle lights flickered as he prepared for his next mission. Liara smiled faintly, knowing that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, she would not face them alone. And somewhere deep in her heart, she began to hope that belonging, acceptance, and friendship were not just possible, they were her future. The morning sun bathed the lower sector of Aurora 7 in a soft golden light. Liara arrived at Zintech Repairs with a renewed sense of purpose. Her work had become more recognized, and her confidence was growing. But today was different. Captain Ryland had asked her to join him on a reconnaissance mission, a task that was peaceful but required careful planning. "Good morning, Liara," Ryland greeted her at the shuttle bay. "Ready for an adventure?" Liara tilted her head and smiled, faintly. "I think so. Where are we going?" "To the old orbit station near Sector 9, Ryland explained. "It's mostly abandoned, but we need to check some equipment and scan for anomalies. It should be safe, but it's always better to have two people on these missions." Liara nodded. She felt a mixture of excitement and caution. Although the mission was not dangerous in the traditional sense, the station was old, and no one had been there in years. She packed her tools and sensors, double-checking them as Ryland prepared the shuttle. As they lifted off, Aurora 7 shrank beneath them, its lights twinkling like distant stars. The silence of space outside the shuttle contrasted sharply with the hub's busy streets below. Liara watched the stars pass by, feeling both small and connected to the vast galaxy. "You seem quiet," Ryland said, noticing her thoughtful expression. "Thinking about the mission?" Liara shook her head slightly. "I'm thinking about everything. About home, about being here, about why you trust me." Ryland glanced at her, his expression gentle. "Trust is earned, not given. You've earned it through your actions, Liara. But if it helps, I'll tell you why I believe in you." Liara's eyes softened, curious and cautious. "Why?" "Because you face challenges with calm and intelligence," he said. "You think, you act, you protect others. You do not need recognition to prove your worth. That is rare. And when someone shows that kind of strength quietly, I respect it." Liara blinked, feeling warmth spread through her chest. I never had someone see me like that before. Not on Zyphora, not really anywhere." "That changes now," Ryland said, firmly. "You do not have to face rejection alone anymore. I will be your ally." The shuttle approached the derelict orbit station, its metal surface scarred and weathered from years of neglect. The docking sequence was smooth, and soon they stepped onto the platform. Inside, the station was quiet, save for the hum of ancient machinery and the occasional drip of condensation. Liara scanned the walls and control panels. "This station has been abandoned for a long time," she said. "Many systems are offline, but some still respond. I can try to restore the communication array. It may help detect any problems." Ryland nodded. "I'll assist where needed and keep an eye on structural integrity. This place is old, so caution is necessary." Together they moved through the station, checking panels, stabilizing loose wiring, and repairing minor faults. Liara explained each step, showing Ryland how different systems interacted. He listened attentively, asking questions and occasionally lending a hand when needed. As they worked, Liara felt a growing sense of trust. Ryland did not rush her, did not question her abilities, and never underestimated her knowledge. For the first time, she realized that collaboration with another being, someone from a completely different world, could be smooth, respectful, and even rewarding. After a few hours, the communication array was operational again. Liara activated the sensors, and a soft green light indicated all systems were stable. It's working, she said quietly, pride and relief in her voice. Rylan smiled. Excellent. You handled that perfectly. Most people would have struggled to even understand the schematics. Liara shook her head, laughing softly. I only followed the patterns. It is logic, not magic. Logic can save lives, Rylan said gently. And today, you helped ensure the safety of anyone who might use this station in the future. For a moment, they stood together in silence, the hum of the station filling the space around them. Liara looked at Rylan, feeling a strange but comforting connection. Captain Rylan, she began cautiously, may I ask you something personal? Of course, he replied. Why do you care so much about someone like me? I am different, and I have been rejected so often. Why do you see value in me? Rylan's gaze softened. Because I know what it is like to be underestimated. Being human in a galaxy full of aliens can be challenging. People assume you are limited, or they judge you before they know you. I see the same in you, Liara. You have skills, intelligence, and courage that others fail to recognize. And I respect that. Liara felt her chest tighten. For so long, she had carried loneliness and doubt. Hearing this, she realized that trust and respect could cross species boundaries. She had always believed her uniqueness was a barrier, but Rylan showed her that it could be a strength. The mission continued with small discoveries. They found old data logs, repaired minor equipment, and cataloged the station's remaining functionality. Each task reinforced their trust in each other. Liara relied on Rylan's judgment in structural matters, while Rylan respected her technical decisions. Together, they formed a partnership built on mutual understanding. By the time they prepared to leave, the station was stable and functional, ready for future use. Liara stood at the docking platform, looking back at the quiet interior. I did not expect to enjoy this mission so much, she admitted. It is peaceful but challenging, and I am glad I did it with you. Rylan smiled, the stars reflecting in his eyes. I am glad too. Working together shows that respect and trust can bridge worlds. You have proven not only your skill, but your heart. Liara felt a warmth she had never known. Trust, she realized, was not given lightly. It grew slowly, nurtured by actions, words, and shared experiences. Today had strengthened her trust in Rylan and in herself. As they returned to Aurora 7, Liara reflected on her journey. She had come seeking acceptance, fearing rejection, and unsure of where she belonged. Now she understood that belonging did not always come from approval. It came from connection, respect, and shared purpose. And with Rylan by her side, she felt that connection was possible. When the shuttle touched down in the lower sector, Liara looked at the city lights twinkling below. I feel stronger than before, she said softly. Rylan nodded. You are. And this is only the beginning. There will be more challenges, more discoveries, and more opportunities to prove your worth. But I have no doubt you will handle them. Liara smiled, the first real smile of complete trust. For the first time, she felt a sense of peace, not just in her surroundings, but within herself. The mission had been simple, yet it had shown her something profound. Courage, intelligence, and compassion were more powerful than rejection, and trust could be built even in the most unfamiliar places. And as the stars of Aurora 7 sparkled above, Liara realized that this human soldier, who had seen her for who she truly was no longer just a companion. He was a friend, an ally, and perhaps in time, something even more meaningful. The weeks following the reconnaissance mission brought a new rhythm to Liara's life. She worked at Zintech repairs, collaborated with engineers, and assisted Rylan whenever he visited the lower sector. Word of her skills spread quietly at first, and then more openly. People who had once ignored or dismissed her began to acknowledge her contributions. One morning, Varric approached Liara with a serious expression. "Liara, I have news," he said. "The Hub Council has noticed your work. They wish to invite you to speak at a council meeting about your technical achievements and contributions to the community." Liara felt a mixture of pride and unease. She had longed for recognition, but had also grown wary of those who had rejected her in the past. I am honored," she said cautiously, "but I do not know if they truly want to see me, or if this is just a formality." Rylan, standing nearby, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Let them judge later. Today, focus on what you have accomplished. Your work speaks louder than their doubts." Liara took a deep breath and nodded. With Rylan by her side, she felt braver. Together, they walked through the hub toward the council chambers, a place she had once feared. The large hall was filled with representatives from various alien species, their faces a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. When Liara stepped forward to present her findings, she felt a quiet determination. She explained the improvements she had made to the hub's systems, her technical insights, and the successful coordination of the drone incident. She spoke clearly, confidently, and without hesitation. Some council members remained stoic, but others nodded in acknowledgement, impressed by her intelligence and calm presence. The murmurs of approval were faint at first, but they grew as her explanations demonstrated not only skill, but practical impact on the community. After the presentation, one of the senior council members spoke. "Liara of Zyphora, your work is valuable. It has helped maintain the safety and efficiency of this hub. While some of us were hesitant to welcome outsiders, your actions have shown that judgment should be based on ability and character, not origin." Liara felt a flutter of relief and pride. At last, some of her contributions were recognized. Yet she remembered the earlier coldness she had felt from others. "Thank you," she said simply. "I am grateful for your acknowledgement. But I hope future decisions will value merit and cooperation above preconceptions." As they left the council chambers, Rylan smiled. "See, recognition can be slow, but it does come when it is deserved." Liara returned his smile, but a shadow lingered in her mind. The recognition was a victory, but she knew some still harbored doubt and prejudice. She could not let that shake her confidence or her focus on helping others. That evening, as they walked through the lower sector, Rylan asked, "Do you feel different after today?" Liara thought for a moment. "I feel stronger, but I also feel cautious. Recognition is welcome, but it is not everything. I must still trust my skills and judgment, regardless of what others think." Rylan nodded. "Exactly. Approval is temporary. Your abilities are permanent. That is what truly matters." Their calm conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from the hub control center. A sector of the upper hub had experienced a sudden malfunction. Lights flickering, communication relays down, minor equipment failures spreading through the area. While the problem was not dangerous yet, it required immediate attention. Rylan turned to Liara. "We should go. Your insight could help prevent escalation." Liara hesitated briefly, but her resolve strengthened. "Let's go. I can analyze the systems and advise the technicians on what to do." When they arrived, chaos was subtle but growing. Engineers were trying to diagnose the problem, but conflicting systems and outdated protocols made it difficult. Liara quickly assessed the situation, identifying the source. A central energy conduit had overloaded, affecting adjacent systems. "This conduit is unstable," she explained to the engineers. "If we reroute power temporarily and recalibrate the flow, we can prevent further failures." Rylan assisted by coordinating personnel and keeping systems secure. The engineers listened closely to Liara's instructions, impressed by her clarity and calm under pressure. Slowly but surely, the upper hub returned to normal operation with no damage or injuries. Once the crisis ended, one of the senior engineers, a tall, green-skinned alien named Morvix, approached her. "Your solutions were precise and effective. I admit I doubted you at first, but today you proved your worth beyond question." Liara nodded, humbly accepting the praise. "I only did what was necessary. The systems needed care, and I wanted to help." Rylan, standing beside her, smiled with quiet pride. "Liara, people will always have doubts, but you continue to show what is possible when skill and integrity guide actions. That is far more important than opinions." Later that evening, Liara and Rylan walked back to the lower sector. The city, lights reflected off the polished streets, creating a gentle glow. "Today was exhausting," Liara admitted, "but I also feel validated. Perhaps I can make a difference even in a place that once rejected me." "You already have," Rylan said simply. "Recognition is temporary. Impact is lasting. You have both." Liara felt a swell of gratitude. She had come to Aurora 7 fearing isolation and rejection, but now she understood that her skills, courage, and dedication mattered. Even those who had doubted her were beginning to see her worth. But the real reward was the quiet knowledge that she was capable, competent, and respected by those who truly understood her contributions. However, as they reached the edge of the lower sector, Liara noticed subtle tension in some of the streets. Some aliens still whispered, casting uncertain glances. She realized that while her skills and courage could earn recognition, not all prejudices disappeared overnight. Some resistance was inevitable, but it no longer scared her. "I suppose there will always be people who doubt me," Liara said softly. Rylan looked at her, eyes firm. "And there will always be people who see your value too. Focus on those who matter, those who trust you and those who work alongside you. They are your true allies." Liara nodded, feeling a quiet determination. She understood now that recognition and acceptance were not only external, they were internal as well. Believing in her own worth, trusting her abilities, and valuing those who valued her, that was what mattered most. As the evening deepened, Aurora 7 shimmered under the stars, a city alive with diversity, innovation, and hidden challenges. Liara knew that more trials would come, more tests of courage and skill, but she also knew she was no longer alone. With Rylan beside her, she felt prepared to face any obstacle, whether from malfunctioning machinery, skeptical council members, or the lingering prejudices of some. Tonight, she allowed herself a small, quiet smile. She had faced rejection. She had earned recognition, and she had strengthened trust with a human soldier who truly believed in her. For Liara, the future was no longer something to fear. It was a path she could walk with confidence, skill, and courage. The days following Liara's recognition by the council and engineers brought a sense of calm and purpose to the lower sector. Aurora 7, once a place of uncertainty for her, now felt like a space where she could grow, contribute, and belong. The small quarters she had been given were simple but comfortable, and every morning she awoke with a quiet determination to improve both herself and the community around her. Rylan arrived early one morning with a cheerful grin. "Ready for another day?" he asked. Liara smiled. "Always. What's the plan today?" "There's a new project at Zintech," Rylan explained. "They want to improve energy distribution for the entire lower sector. It's a big task, but I think your expertise will make a huge difference." Liara nodded, her heart light. She had faced so much rejection before, but now she understood that her contributions mattered. "Let's get started," she said, picking up her tools and sensors. The engineers welcomed her with warm smiles and encouragement. Even those who had been cautious around her at first now approached with respect. Liara worked with focus and precision, analyzing old power conduits, suggesting improvements, and coordinating with Rylan to ensure efficiency. Together, they created a plan that would stabilize the energy system and prevent future disruptions. As they tested the final configurations, the lights across the sector glowed steadily, brighter and more reliable than before. The engineers cheered, softly, their faces filled with appreciation. Varric approached Liara and Rylan. "This is remarkable," he said. "You've not only solved technical problems, but also strengthened trust and cooperation among our teams. I must admit, I underestimated the impact of a newcomer." Liara shook her head, smiling humbly. "I am grateful for your support and willingness to collaborate. Together, we achieved this." Rylan's hand brushed hers briefly as they packed up. The gesture was simple but full of warmth and unspoken acknowledgement. Liara felt a quiet happiness. She realized that recognition, trust, and friendship had become intertwined in her life. Later, as the sun began to set over Aurora 7, Liara and Rylan walked through the lower sector. The streets were calm, illuminated by the soft glow of street lamps. Children played nearby, and families moved peacefully along the paths. Liara felt a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. "You've come a long way, Liara," Rylan said softly. "From the moment you arrived, facing rejection and uncertainty, to now being recognized and respected, you've shown courage, intelligence, and determination every step of the way." Liara looked at him, a mixture of gratitude and warmth in her eyes. "I could not have done it alone. You believed in me when others did not." Rylan shook his head gently. "I only helped you see what was already there. You had the skill, the heart, and the determination. I only made sure you had someone watching your back." They paused at a quiet overlook, the city lights sparkling below and the stars shining above. Liara took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill her lungs. "I never thought I could belong anywhere," she admitted. "But now, I feel like I have a place, and people who value me." "You do," Rylan said firmly. "You have earned it through every action, every challenge, and every thoughtful decision. And more importantly, you have chosen to trust and build connections. That is what makes a place truly yours." Liara smiled softly. For the first time, she did not feel the sting of rejection or the weight of doubt. She had faced adversity, gained recognition, and discovered the power of trust. And standing beside her was a human soldier who had seen her true worth from the start. Days turned into weeks, and Liara continued to thrive. Her projects at Zintech improved the sector's infrastructure. Her technical insights became invaluable, and her calm confidence inspired those around her. She discovered a rhythm to life that balanced challenge and reward, work and companionship, ambition and patience. One evening, Rylan invited her to accompany him on a short patrol of the upper sector. The mission was simple: observe and report. Minor anomalies. But the gesture meant more than work. It was a way for Liara to continue building trust and understanding with him. As they moved through the streets, she realized how much she had grown. The bustling crowds no longer intimidated her. The whispers and stares from those who doubted her earlier no longer shook her confidence. She had learned to value herself and her contributions, regardless of others' opinions. At the end of the patrol, they paused on a rooftop overlooking the city. Aurora 7 stretched beneath them, alive with lights, movement, and possibility. Liara turned to Rylan, a soft smile on her lips. "I feel ready," she said quietly. "Ready for challenges, ready for recognition, and ready to belong fully." Rylan smiled, his eyes reflecting the city lights. "You are ready, and you are not alone. Whatever comes next, we face it together." Liara felt a warmth in her chest, a quiet joy that had nothing to do with accolades or formal recognition. It was the knowledge that she had earned her place, built meaningful connections, and proven to herself that she was capable, valuable, and respected. As the night deepened, they walked back to the lower sector together, side by side. The path was peaceful, illuminated by gentle street lamps. Liara's heart was light, her mind clear, and her spirit strong. She had faced rejection, proven her worth, earned recognition, and gained trust. She had discovered friendship, respect, and belonging. For Liara, the journey was not just about surviving in a new world. It was about thriving, contributing, and building a future with people who saw her for who she truly was. And with Rylan by her side, she knew that future held promise, adventure, and shared purpose. Standing at the entrance to her quarters, Liara turned to Rylan. "Thank you for believing in me, for trusting me, and for standing by me." Rylan smiled, his expression calm but filled with warmth. "No thanks needed. You have shown me your strength, courage, and heart every day. I am the lucky one to stand by you." Liara felt a quiet joy she had never known before. She stepped inside, her quarters feeling safe, valued, and at peace. Aurora 7 was no longer just a new world, it was home, and she knew, with certainty, that her journey had only just begun. In the quiet of her room, she looked out at the city lights and whispered softly to herself, "I belong. I am seen. And I am ready for everything that comes next." Outside, Rylan watched from the shuttle bay, a small smile on his face. He knew she was ready. Not just for challenges, but for life, for connection, and for the adventures that awaited them both. The stars of Aurora 7 sparkled brightly that night, reflecting the promise of a new beginning, a beginning built on courage, trust, and the extraordinary humanity of one human soldier and a remarkable alien woman who had once been rejected, but was now truly accepted.